All right, welcome to the course advising webinar. It says welcome ninth graders, but again, we welcome anyone who really wants to learn about what it takes now to graduate from high school. And this year's graduating class, the ninth graders coming in, have some changes, so we decided to have a separate webinar just for the ninth graders. So thank you for coming. I'm joined tonight by my wonderful colleagues, Mrs. Leela Lumpkin and Mr. Lowell Moore. Thank you both for being here and monitoring the chat box for me. And if you guys have any questions along the way, feel free to type in the chat box. They'll help you out. I'm going to cover a lot of information, and I promise to try to stop and slow down when I'm talking. I have a problem doing that sometimes, so that you understand everything I'm going over. And at the very end there, jot down your questions if you have any, and we'll stick around and answer them all for you. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, our agenda for tonight for class of 2017 is to review the graduation requirement changes for your class, because there have been multiple changes, and we want to make sure to address those now. The assessments required to meet graduation requirements, a little bit about industry certification information, and homeschool completers and options they have. And then we'll have just some resources for you, some websites, some helpful career planning places you can go, and resources you can use. And then, of course, our question and answer session at the very end. All right, well, let's jump right in there and talk about what the standard public school diploma requirements are. For any student who is going to graduate with a public standard diploma from a public brick-and-mortar school, from the Florida Virtual School Full-Time Program, and we have the wonderful Becky Heinzman, who is a counselor with the Full-Time Program, here with us tonight. Or if you're going to graduate with one of your county franchises, you have to meet the 24 credits listed here on the screen. You need 4 credits in English, 4 credits in math, 3 credits in science, 3 credits in social studies, 1 credit in physical education, 1 in performing practical arts, and 8 elective credits, totaling 24 credits for a standard diploma. You also need to make sure that you have a 2.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale. A 2.0 would be considered a C average. And we would love to say that that's as easy as it is right there on that one slide. But, of course, there's little disclaimers under each section, so we thought we'd break it down for you and go over each subject area and kind of just talk about what is really required for you for graduating with the standard diploma. Okay, let's start with English. You do need 4 credits of English to graduate. Typically, just regular student would take their English 1, English 2, English 3, and English 4 and meet that requirement. Some students excel. They'll take advanced placement classes, which is college level courses. They'll take dual enrollment courses, ACE, IB classes that, ACE and IB, of course, are not going to be included into Florida Virtual School courses, but at your own school, if you're you go to a traditional public school, they would have those available, and a lot of their English classes would meet the requirements to meet at least the 4 credits. So a lot of times students will ask me, if I take advanced placement English language, do I still have to take a high school level English 3? Or if I take a dual enrollment college class, do I still have to take? No, those college level classes will meet high school requirements for English. So you may take English 1 and 2, just regular for honors at your high school or with Florida Virtual School, and then opt to take your AP English Language and AP English Lit as your last 2 English classes. But as long as you have 4, you're good to go. Also, with your graduating class, they're kind of doing away with the FCAT and bringing in something called the ELA Common Core Assessment. You must take it and pass it in the 10th grade in order to graduate. You must also take the ELA Grade 11 Common Core Assessment when it's implemented, but that is not going to be a pass to graduate type test. You have to just take it once they do have it set up, and I think they're still in the works with getting those tests set up. So English, not much change there, just the testing around English changed a little bit, but still the same requirements for English. Let's go on into math. You do need 4 credits in math to graduate. 2 of them are very specific. You need to have 1 in Algebra 1 and 1 credit in Geometry. Now, there are end-of-course exams tied to those 2 classes for public school students for sure. Homeschoolers that are we're going to talk about you guys a little later down the road, but homeschoolers, if they're not going to go back into public school, aren't required to take the EOC exams if they don't want to. But if there's any chance you're going to be going into public school, you must take the Algebra 1 EOC. You have to pass it to graduate, and also the results count 30% of your final grade. And then for geometry, the results count 30% of the final grade, but if you don't pass it, you would still graduate. So Algebra 1 you must pass, and geometry you just must take it, and the results will count 30% of your final grade. And I'm going to talk about assessments a little later down the road too. So you do need 2 more credits of Algebra 1 or higher from this point forward. So if you do Algebra 1 and geometry, you still need 2 more math credits. With Florida Virtual School, the next step for our students is Algebra 2. And then they can move into either Math for College Readiness or Advanced Algebra with Financial Applications, or even Pre-Calculus. And of course we have higher level maths, but that's just kind of the course progression for the first 4 basic maths that we have. So if a student at a public school elects to take Algebra 2, they must also take the Algebra 2 Common Core Assessment, and those results will count 30% of their final grade when it's implemented. So it's not here yet, but it's coming. So for a lot of 9th graders who are sitting in Algebra 1, they haven't gotten to the Algebra 2 yet, and when they do, this Common Core Assessment will be around. Also, industry certification courses that lead to college credit may substitute for up to 2 mathematics credits. I'm going to talk a little bit more about industry certification down here in a couple slides from now. But again, with this, if some public schools have more industry certification courses they offer at their school that are specific to math and the core subjects, and we don't. So that's why I want to just put a disclaimer in there that a lot of times if you are going to go to a public school, they're going to offer some more classes that can meet these requirements for math. All right, let's keep on plugging along and dive into science. For the science requirements, there is 1 credit in biology that you must have. Biology EOC results count for 30% of your final course grade. But just like the geometry, you don't need to pass the biology EOC to graduate. The only EOC you need to pass is the Algebra 1 for graduation. So biology, though, you do have to take the EOC, and the results, again, would count for 30% of your final grade. 2 of the 3 required science credits must have a lab component. At Florida Virtual School, all of our courses have science courses have a lab component, except for forensic science. Forensic science is a elective course. It doesn't count as a science credit. If you want to take it as one of your electives, it's an amazing course, a great course, but it wouldn't count towards science requirements. But everything else we offer would. Another big change with the 9th graders is the 3rd bullet you see there. Oh, and let me grab my little, I keep forgetting to do this, my sunshine. Another change with the 9th graders is the 2 more credits after biology in equally rigorous science courses. Now this is going to be, of course, chemistry, physics, that would meet that requirement. Our earth space science class will meet that requirement. Yes, earth space science has a lab, Andrea. So earth space science would meet the requirement for equally rigorous. So would physical science. So would anatomy and physiology honors, marine science honors. And I think everything else, kind of physics and AP environmental, AP biology, speaks for themselves, but they're going to be equally rigorous to biology. So a little bit of a change there. If you ever have a question about that, you can ask your science teachers know, your counselors know. We can help you out to make sure you have the right courses that are going to meet the science requirements for graduation. And some high schools also offer the industry certification courses that lead to college credit, and you can substitute up to 1 for science credit. And I know it's a lot of information, and I'm going to keep on chugging along here just so I can make sure I get it all out to you guys. But again, you're going to have your schooling, your course progression, your track is all personalized to you. So sometimes talking to an advisor, and you do have your own counselor here as a homeschooler that we can help you out for sure. So, okay, social studies requirements. Luckily, this one's a little more straightforward. You will need a credit of world history. You will also need a credit of U.S. history. And with the U.S. history for public school students, they must take the U.S. history EOC. Again, they don't have to pass this EOC, but they do have to take it, and the results will count for 30% of the final grade. You also have to take a half credit of U.S. government, and finally, a half credit in economics, which must include financial literacy. Don't worry, FLVS is working to make sure that's in our economics class, as are the public schools. So don't worry about that. You don't have to go out and find a financial literacy book. We got you covered there. That's just a change this year that actually everyone has to have that little component of financial literacy in their classes for economics. Okay. Let's keep chugging along. And I know there's some questions coming in the chat box, and I'll go back to them too if they're not addressed, and then I'll answer them at the end here. I just want to keep plugging along. Also, for the public school standard diploma, you need a credit in performing or practical art. This could be a credit in fine or performing arts, speech or debate, or speech and debate, or practical arts. The eligible courses specified in the Florida Course Code Directory. If you're in a public school taking classes, your counselor there will be able to tell you which of the electives they offer would meet this requirement. At Florida Virtual School, the following courses will meet this requirement. We have our fine art courses, the AP Art History, and the the regular Art History and Criticism, our Creative Photography, Guitar, and Music of the World. Those are all fine art credits and would give you that credit. Also, our Computing for College and Careers, Foundations of Web Design, User Interface Design, and Journalism would give a practical art credit. So you could get this requirement for graduation completed by taking one of these classes through Florida Virtual School. But again, if you end up going back to a public school, a public high school, then you would have other options as well. Okay. Well, let's keep going. We're doing so well. Physical education requirements. High school students who want a standard diploma must have 1 credit in physical education to include the integration of health. A student can take both segments of HOPE that we offer to meet this requirement. But for public school students, you should definitely reach out to your school counselor for more specific information about your own district's PE requirements. I know that taking a credit of HOPE would meet the full-time requirement, the Florida Virtual School full-time diploma requirement, but if you live in the Panhandle in the district, or you live in Central Florida in Orlando, that Orange County might have an extra PE requirement or specific PE requirements. So it's always best to reach out to the school that you're planning to graduate from to make sure you've met those requirements and you're on track to graduate with them. And that's key for every subject area. If you know that you're going to be staying homeschooled 9th, 10th, 11th, and transfer in as a senior, you want to make sure you're not only meeting these general standard credits we're discussing, but also any extra requirements that the district might have, because sometimes they do have extra requirements. So it's always just good to set up a meeting with a counselor there too. Alrighty, elective requirements. Students need to complete at least 8 elective credits in order to graduate. And students can basically complete any electives they show interest in. You could take, and a lot of times if you're college bound or would like to apply for the Bright Futures, we suggest that you take 2 years of the same foreign language. This not only meets the Bright Futures scholarship requirement for the scholarship money for the 75%, 100%, I'm going to mess it up right now, but the Florida Medallion and the Florida Scholar, and the 4-year university admissions requirement as well. If you do not do 2 years of a foreign language in high school and you end up going to maybe a 2-year college, state college, and then you want to transfer to a bigger 4-year university like UF or UCF or USF, then you're going to have to take 2 years of foreign language in college to meet the requirement before you can be accepted to the 4-year university. That's why in high school, counselors usually strongly recommend getting those 2 credits of the same foreign language out of the way in case, or especially if you're college bound, so that doesn't hold you up later on down the road. Okay, and then online course requirement. This was new a couple years back. It is required for 24 credit graduation option only. School districts may not require a student to fulfill this online course requirement, though, outside of the school day or in addition to your course schedule every semester. So it has to be it doesn't have to be if you don't want it to be. If you want to take it over the summer and get it out of the way before you start 9th grade, you can, or between 10th and 11th grade, whichever you want. But a lot of times schools will put it on your schedule through your main day. You'll take maybe Hope would meet this requirement, or you take Algebra 1 online over a summer. You know, whatever it is, it has to be part of the 24 credit graduation option. The only course that does not meet the requirement is going to be Driver's Ed. Driver's Ed now with this class does not meet the requirement for online course. You can definitely take Driver's Ed, but you'll still have to take some other online course to meet this requirement. And this does not apply to every student. Students who have an IEP, which indicate that online courses would not be academically appropriate for them, don't have to take it. And those who've enrolled in a Florida high school and has less than 1 academic year remaining, they won't have to backtrack and take an online class, but everyone else will. And this came about because a lot of colleges are going to more online courses, so they wanted students to have been familiarized with online learning, taken at least one virtual class to get a feel for how it is, so they're not kind of overwhelmed going into college and having a bunch of online classes. So that's where this stemmed from. Okay, let's keep going. All right, the assessments that are required for this 9th grade class to graduate. You must, I'll put this on the side over here, you must take and pass the 10th grade ELA Common Core Assessment. I kind of mentioned this is taking the place of the older requirement of the SCAT reading. So it's taken during 10th grade, and you must pass that in order to graduate. And I highlighted the 2 that you need to pass in order to graduate. You also must pass and take the Algebra 1 EOC. And again, your results for that EOC will result in 30% of your final grade. So it'll count for 30% of the final grade. And then the ones that aren't highlighted and underlined are just other assessments that you're going to have to take along the way. You have to take the 11th grade ELA Common Core Assessments, also the Geometry EOC, the Biology EOC, and the U.S. History EOC. And I didn't list it here, but if you do take Algebra 2, you'll have to take the EOC as well. But it won't count toward graduation, just for final grades. And I know this is a lot of information. So I'm going to keep on plugging away, and I promise we will answer all of your questions. The Credit Acceleration Program, CAP, is effective for the 2011-2012 school year. The school district shall permit a student who is not enrolled in or has not completed the related coursework to take the standardized EOC during the regular admissions of the EOC. And if a student takes the EOC and passes it, the school will then award them credit for that class. So this is new, and I would definitely, if you're going to go into a public school, I definitely refer back to your counselor for more information about this. Okay, the Excel program. Excel stands for Academically Challenging Curriculum to Enhance Learning. It's an 18-credit program. It's kind of an accelerated option for students. And a student usually works with their school counselor or principal to see if they're even eligible. Different districts have different eligibility requirements, but basically you must meet the same requirements as the standard diploma I just went through, except that physical education is not required. You only need 3 electives instead of 8, and no online course requirements. So that backs the student down to 18 credits. And these are the 3 things they'd be opted out of. They'd still be able, the diplomas would still get them into college and everything like that. It's just a more accelerated type program. It works best for some students. It just depends on the students. So it's definitely a good idea to reach out to your counselor and principal too if you'd like to learn more about the Excel program at your school. There is also scholar designation. So for a student to have a scholar designation on their diploma, in addition to meeting the standard diploma's requirements that we just went through, you must also, remember how I said you have to take the 11th grade ELA Common Core Assessment? Well, you have to also pass it to be a scholar designation. You have to earn a credit in Algebra 2 and pass the EOC for Algebra 2. You have to earn 1 credit in statistics or an equally rigorous math course, pass the Biology 1 EOC, which is for the standard diploma as well, earn 1 credit in chemistry or physics, earn 1 credit in a course equally rigorous to chemistry or physics, pass the U.S. History EOC, earn 2 credits in the same foreign language, and earn 1 credit in either AP or the other programs, IB or dual enrollment that are available to students. So, as you can see, this is a lot more on top of the standard diploma 24 credit regular track I just discussed with you guys. So This is for students that want that scholar designation on the diploma that's going to look better to colleges. It's for those students that are kind of definitely college bound, want to go and move forward in that path. So it's definitely something that a lot of students are already doing. They're already excelling and passing these tests and doing these classes. So now they have a scholar designation on diplomas for students that meet these requirements and pass these standards. So I think it's pretty cool. They also now have a merit designation. In addition to meeting the standard diploma requirements, students would also need the following: obtain one or more industry certifications from the list established. Now, industry certifications at Florida Virtual School, we really only have one offered, and it's through our Computing for College and Career, User Interface, Web Design trio of courses, our computer courses, and I believe you get a industry certification in Microsoft, some kind of Microsoft-based certification, and I know some students that have already earned it. That's all we offer at Florida Virtual School, but a lot of other high schools offer a bunch more. And the purpose behind it is it's designed to prepare students for an occupation or occupational area. It increases self-esteem and marketability, integrated into the high school academic requirement, and to act as an incentive. There's a couple different types of certifications, federal and state certifications. I know some schools have health certificates you can get before you graduate high schools. There's also the industry-developed assessment instrument leading to industry certification. I know there's a bunch of different certifications you can get while still in high school, the air conditioning, and oh my gosh, there's so many. It really just depends on your area and the schools around. And then also the one that I was mentioning that we have, the company developed assessment instrument leading to certification or proficiency in one or more company products like Microsoft or Cisco. And I'm just briefly touching on this because a lot of people don't know that they're available, so I just wanted to throw a couple slides in there. There are articulation agreements so that there's an opportunity for homeschool and public school students to have access to these courses that can get them certified in the areas they're interested in getting certified in. There's even dual enrollment with colleges to help with the certification. And there's a link there for Valencia, their degrees and credits and articulation agreements that they have. And basically the benefits are an opportunity to establish a work history, focused and deliberate educational goals, great training that could lead to higher wages, and entry level to specialized and technical careers. Because if you think about it, if you have a high school student just coming out with just a regular diploma, coming to apply for a job in one of these industry fields, and you have the specialization, the merit designation that you have a certification already on your diploma, who are they going to hire? So it's nice to have this option on here to have the certification done before you're even out of high school. Okay, so that was a lot of information. I'm going to keep on talking because I see that it's already 7:25. I want to finish out with the homeschoolers and the resources and give you some time to ask your questions. For homeschool completers, those that have no intention of going back into a public school setting or to transfer to the full-time program or a franchise program that's diploma seeking, you have a little bit more flexibility. And there's 2 sample home education tracks. There's a 24-credit 4-year traditional track that I kind of mentioned already and went through already. It's similar to what a public school student would be taking, minus the assessments, and I'll talk about that. The 18-credit 3-year academic track basically gets a student ready for what colleges will want to see on their transcripts. And I'm going to break down those credits for you real fast. Okay, so for homeschoolers that want to stick to the traditional 24-credit track, they'll still need, just like I had mentioned before, the 4 credits of English, math, 3 of science, 3 of history, a credit of PE, a credit of fine art, the foreign language, and 6 electives. The foreign language, the 2 credits for foreign language and the 6 other electives would equal to 8. This is a traditional high school track. It's flexible enough to include some dual enrollment for this homeschooler, some AP advanced course levels, honors, career preparatory, those industry certifications, and still meet the Bright Future Scholarship. For student-specific advisement, please contact your regional FLVS counselor because like I mentioned before, you guys are all individual and you really have your own needs and desires and career paths that you want to eventually go to. So it really is specific to what your plans are and your goals are. This 24 credit track, a lot of students that want to be very competitive and apply to 4-year universities as freshmen. We're talking UCF and UF and FSU, all the major universities. I always go to UF first because I'm a Gator. But anyway, there's a bunch of other ones. I think there's one in the Panhandle. I'm not sure what it's called. But anyway, so but they want to make sure that they're beefing up their transcripts with AP courses and college-level dual enrollment courses and honors-level classes. They're going to get a higher weighted GPA. They're also going to want to focus on their test scores like SAT or ACT. Homeschoolers do not have to take any of the end-of-course exams, FCAT, or those ELA assessments, those Common Core assessments I discussed. The colleges won't need those scores. They're not going to be looking for those scores. They're going to be looking for these credits, and they're going to be looking for high test scores and high GPAs. But definitely the SAT and ACT are going to be something that you take, or something else called the College Placement Test or PERT test. All right, so the 18-credit high school track. Okay, this one is a very traditional track for students to meet their requirements as homeschoolers. They still need their core classes. They need 4 credits of English, 4 credits of math, 3 credits of science, 3 credits of history, 2 of foreign language, and 2 electives. So you notice that the big differences in the electives. Instead of 6 credits, they need just 2 credits. This meets the minimum requirements for general entrance to any state university, along with those SAT scores or ACT scores. It meets full admission to any community college or technical school, and it meets full requirements to Bright Future Scholarship programs as well as the NCAA eligibility. So that's good to know, that as long as you're meeting these requirements of these 18, you can meet eligibility to enter any of the state universities, community colleges, or their state colleges now, and meet the requirements for even to earn a Bright Future Scholarship at NCAA. Also, I want to throw out there, too, because I get the question a lot, the only time really there's an issue with the homeschoolers, they don't get a paper diploma. Their parents complete them as homeschoolers, and they usually sign a high school completion affidavit, and along with their transcripts and test scores is all they need. Sometimes branches of the military would not accept that. There is loopholes around that. Homeschoolers can sometimes come and take a certain amount of college-level credits, and then they can enlist into the military. So I always just suggest that homeschoolers go back and discuss this with their recruiter and to get the most accurate information. But really, all colleges, scholarship programs recognize homeschoolers, and they're eligible for everything a public school student would be eligible for as well. Got to advocate for our homeschoolers. Okay, we're getting into toward the end. Yay, because I'm thirsty. Okay, so home study scheduling tips for success. What's a good home schedule? A lot of students come to Florida Virtual School. Some of them have homeschooled their whole lives. Some of them it's brand new to them, and they need help on how to kind of schedule their world when it comes to which classes to take. So a good homeschool schedule, 1 subject a day. This can work, say, we suggest you take no more than 3 or 4 classes at one time when you're just going, especially starting out, just to make sure that you're not overwhelmed, and especially if you're new to virtual learning, you want to make sure that you're not going to start off on the wrong foot. So you want to make sure you're taking maybe 3, 4, 5 classes at the most. Traditionally at public schools, you're taking 6 or 7 classes and going all year long, and the bell rings and you move from class to class. But virtual learning is a little different, and it can get overwhelming to have different courses and different pace charts and different teacher contacts and communication. So it's easier to sometimes do kind of a block schedule where you do maybe 2 core classes and an elective in the fall, and 2 core classes and another elective in the spring. You still get your 6 credits for the year, but you kind of do it more of a chunking together and doing all 3 credits of the first 3 classes in the fall time and all 3 credits of the second set of classes in the spring. But you can work your schedule to do 1 subject a day, or you can work your schedule to maybe do 2 subjects a day. And I linked in here some samples. Here's a sample of 1 subject a day. This student works on our U.S. history course from 9 in the morning till noon. If you're like me and not a morning person, you might make it 10 to 1. 11 to 2? No. Then in the afternoon, you have some lunchtime, and you have to eat because it's very important to get your energy, and like our colleague Ann would say, to eat your Wheaties. And then after that, you go back, and from 1 to 3:30 p.m., you can complete work, read a novel, study for your exams, contact your teacher if needed, and it still lends you some time at night for family, sports, chores, TV, some you time, because we all know it's important. Yes, school is number one in your lives right now, but we also know it's important to have some downtime and some socialization too, to have a healthy, well-balanced life. Okay, and then the student works on English on Tuesday, algebra on Wednesday, biology on Thursday, and leaves their physical science class on Friday. If the student was only taking 4 classes, they might leave Friday open for just a makeup day for any classes they may have fallen behind in. 2 subjects a day. This sometimes can work, this schedule right here, maybe for a student who struggles in math, like I would have this schedule. And they work on their world history in the morning. They take a lunch break and they do lesson 1 of Algebra 1. Then they work on English 1 Tuesday morning, and then they have a lunch break and then work on the second lesson for Algebra 2. And then just so forth, they can do biology and, again, Algebra 1. It just lends itself so if it's a harder subject for them, they can space it out throughout the week and touch on it multiple times and make sure they really understand the concepts before they move on. So that's just some examples of some schedules there. And some other strategies for success. You want to commit to a chunking format. And what we mean by that is logging into one class for 10 minutes and then going to have an apple and coming back and logging into a different class for 10 minutes and then checking your email. And that sometimes can lend itself to not getting anything done and being proactive. So you want to make sure you commit to a chunking format where you kind of block your time together and work in chunks of like 2 to 3 hours at a time and then take a break so that you can really get a lot of good work done. Create a checklist to accomplish every day. I know I have a to-do list that I have in front of me, and before I leave for one work day, I come back with that to-do list already ready for me so I can jump right in. Communicate with your teacher and parents so they know your schedule and what to expect. They can support you. We are all here to support you, but we can talk till we're blue in the face until you communicate and tell us you need us. So stop us and tell us you need some assistance, and we're going to be here for you. Be timely on your discussion-based assessments and your monthly calls. It's really important to get these done and not be behind in them because it can make you finish your classes a little later than planned and get you behind and cause a trickle effect where you won't have as much time to finish your classes if you're getting behind. Again, commit to asking for help. You have so many resources here for you, so use them. All right, contact your teacher if you have any questions. That's also key too. Your teacher's information is on the website, their announcement page. You can log in and get their phone number anytime you want to. Don't call them at 3 in the morning. 8 to 8 every day, they're available for you to reach out and ask for help. Okay, just a couple of resources I'm putting up here, and I might go ahead and just type this in the chat box for you. The Florida Choices is something you guys can utilize and go to, and you can do interest inventories to figure out what kind of, hold on, I'm typing and looking at the same time. There's a website. Interest inventories, and there is portfolios you can make to save your work. You can go in and take assessments to kind of give you an idea of what careers might be right for you if you have no idea what to expect. Educators as well, school counselors and principals and other educators can find resources and monitor their students, and you can make a plan for your future and to finish up here and move on to college. It's a great resource. And here's another one, the Florida College and Career Planner. And I'm going to type this website in the chat box too because I think you can actually click on it and steal it from the chat box and not from the presentation. So I want to put those in there for you. But again, a bunch of education and training beyond high school. It's necessary for anyone in Florida who hopes to earn a livable wage. The College and Career Planner helps middle and high school students understand their options. It really tells you everything you need to know because there is a lot to know. It can sometimes be very overwhelming. That's like even presenting all this information tonight. I wanted to make sure we recorded it. People can go back and listen to it again, stop it, jot down notes. because it really is a plethora of information. And here's some more resources. I'll keep this page up here for you for a second if you want to jot any of these down. College.gov, the College Board, Plan for College, and the ACT College Planning. Both of these websites are also where you would go when you eventually sign up to take the ACT and SAT. The SAT is going to be through the College Board website, and the ACT will be through the ACT website right there. And again, that Florida Virtual Campus is in the last one I listed. I just listed in the chat box for you as well. Just some more resources and different kind of tools to use. I'll leave that one up here for a second so that if anyone needs to jot those down, they can. And then really that's concluding the end of the presentation today.